Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, you're in the right place. I don't know about you, but I'm at the Emerging Engineer Summit here at CodePath, and it's 2025, and I'm your host. My name is Bobby Dorless, but my friends call me Bobby D. I'm so excited to be here for another year. And let me tell you how important surveys are. The reason why I'm here is because of them surveys from last year. So I encourage you to fill out your surveys, and we'll definitely have some more information. But a little bit more about me. As mentioned, my name is Bobby Dorless, but I go by Bobby D, and I'm an engineer, I'm a technologist, and I've been at the keyboard for 20 plus years. I'm also a founder. I write books, I do mentors, coach. I do it all. But in general, what I do appreciate the most is the opportunity that CodePaths gives me to give back to my community directly. And that's why I'm here. And I got you. I promise you for the next 3 days, you're going to have a blast. Now, me in terms of my skill set, I'm a systems engineer, but I'm also a software engineer. And while I was at the keyboard, I worked at some really cool companies, including one of those that I don't know if you all know it anymore. It's the one that used to be the Little Blue Bird. It's a social media company. I don't know. Somebody throw it in the chat. Maybe y'all can find me on LinkedIn and get connected. But the real reason why I'm here today is to open up the Emerging Engineering Summit. And I'm so excited because I have something to read here. And it looks like this year we have over 6,000 people tuned in across the country and around the world. Now that's extremely powerful. But let me let y'all know how the next 3 days are going to roll out. So, over the next 3 days, you're going to get exclusive access to industry leaders, directly connect with companies and sponsors, and a chance to build real communities, tech communities. That's what we're all here for, is to build a community. And if you were here last year, you already know how we do it, right? This ain't just another conference. This is where moments of connections can rewrite futures. So, do me a favor, don't just sit back. Get to know as many people as you can. Build with each other. And yeah, take a chance because this is the hustle. Get in the game, right? Now, we can't make this happen without our sponsors. So we want to send some big love to Z's, Pluralsight, Microsoft, Base 10, Snowflake Inc., Bill.com, ServiceNow, PwC, and GitHub. And that's just part of the lineup because the full roster is stacked up with incredible companies and speakers through the next 3 days. Make sure you hit up the booths on the event platform. Networking blocks are a perfect time to connect with their teams. And don't sleep on the lounge. This is where we'll be hanging out, right? This is where you'll find not just your next collab, your next mentor, but even an opportunity to find your next co-founder in the lounge area. Keep your eyes on the main feed right here on the main stage. This is where we'll be dropping updates, session highlights, and please share feedback so maybe I can come back another year. Not just virtually, but also in real person too. So just let us know, and we really want to hear from you. All right, enough with reminders because the main event is here, and we're really excited about who we have lined up for our keynote. The kickoff EES 2025, we've got a keynote that embodies everything the community stands for: innovation, grit, and impact. Our guest today is someone whose journey has touched continents, industries, and $1 billion in value. But what makes him stand out is his purpose. Ade is the co-founder and managing partner at Base 10 Partners, the first Black-led VC firm to reach $1 billion in asset management. Give him a round of applause for sure. That's a bar right there. He's a builder at heart. Ade founded Tunti, known as Spanish's Facebook, or Spanish Facebook, I'm sorry, and identified an AI company later acquired by Workday. He also helped launch Workday's venture and invest in early unicorns like Cabify, Nubank, and Instacart. And check this out. He taught himself how to write code in high school, just like a lot of you all, including myself. Studied law and economics in Spain, earned an MBA at Stanford, and has driven AI and entrepreneurship over a decade. But beyond his resume, what I respect most about Ade is his commitment to build tech that improves everyday life, and also his leadership in pushing diversity forward through programs like Code 2040, Black Venture Capital Consumption, and yes, CodePath. So let's get into today's session, which is titled From Startup to Scale, a Founder's Journey. We will walk through Ade's path from launching companies to shaping the future of tech and as an innovator. Family, let's give a big warm welcome to Ade. Ade, how you doing today?
I'm doing very good, Bobby, more so after your very kind introduction. So thank you for having me and for the kind words.
Oh, of course, of course. Very much appreciate your time. And yeah, I always like to amp the energy up so everybody can get into the right mindset. We got a few questions lined up for our chat today. So we're just going to jump right into the first question that I have here on my list here. And please bear with me. One thing that we're always interested in is trying to understand what sparked your interest in technology, and how did you start coding in school and eventually building the Spanish Facebook.
Yeah. I've been interested in tech as long as I can remember. My dad was as he liked to call it, a real engineer. She was, he was building like power grids and electric plants in Nigeria. And at that time, we'll like follow him around to the construction sites. Me and my brother were homeschooled. And probably, if I had to guess, like seeing that made me think about, okay, how do things work, and what are these power lines, etc. And yes, generally me and my brother were huge nerds. So as we like to joke, we were interested in everything that will make you unpopular in high school. So math, physics, chess, etc. And the coding part came because actually of chess and strategy games. And I was obsessed with, this is like circa 1992, 1993, I think. And I was obsessed with a game called Civilization. That was a strategy game at that point in its second version. I think today is in its seventh version. And I wanted to mod it. That is, I wanted to modify some of the units. And in order to that, I needed to learn how to code. And that was the beginning of my journey when I was about 12 or so.
Yeah, that's awesome. And big shout outs to Nigeria, big shout outs to the continent. And definitely, I always appreciate when we have mentors in front of us, giving us examples of how to do what we enjoy to do, like problem solving and developing. And definitely, obviously, we can see the outcome because you've been able to make some big headways in the industry. But one question that we have here is, what lesson did you take away from building and exiting two companies that shape how you think about entrepreneurship today?
I mean, countless, but if I have to choose one, I always say focus. It's very, I think about it every day. I tell my team that if we are successful, we should be doing less things, but the few in which we focus on, we should be doing them better and better. Because my takeaway is that it takes a really long time to become excellent at something, and you can only do that by really constantly asking yourself, like day by day and almost hour by hour, hey, if I can only do one thing, what is the single most important thing I could be doing? And, in every company I have started at the beginning, resources have been quite constrained. And that is good because it's a really good forcing function to focus. So I continue to work on that daily.
Yeah, I mean, the big takeaway for me is focus. And I did like how you also describe the challenges of being an entrepreneur in terms of resources. Capital is usually always limited at the beginning, but also it does encourage you to have focus on smaller and simpler problems before you go tackle a big one. But the thing that I was really impressed and definitely highlighted when I was reading and reviewing your intro is the creation of Base 10, and your transition from a founder now into a fund manager. Like, how did that all go down for you?
It started with personal investing. So I moved to Silicon Valley now almost 16 years ago. And thankfully, because I had exited my first company, I had some personal money that I could invest. And I did a and I ended up, forming a thesis around what today based on does, which is automation for the real economy. And yes, focusing on how automation and AI were going to transform sectors like logistics, like food, like transportation, etc. And after a few years doing that, and being lucky enough to be part of some companies that became very consequential, I was like, hey, how come there's not a fund fully focused on this? And thankfully today there is, and that's based on.
Yeah, yeah, and $1 billion under management. Congratulations to you. And definitely, I know the value around VCs bringing insights in terms of just your experience, exiting two companies, building them, will definitely be valuable to those companies that you all investing in. And one topic that really caught my interest is automating for the real economy, and more specifically, is this something that you envision AI supporting major trends?
Yeah, I think automation and AI are synonymous. And in fact, I originally, the tagline for Base 10 was going to be applied AI for the real economy. But back in 2017, I got feedback from prospective LPs that applied AI was too small and too much of a niche, which is funny in hindsight. But anyway, that is not feedback we're getting today for sure.
Yeah, yeah. AI being a wave is definitely sometimes a little bit overwhelming. And one thing that I want to get your insights into, especially with the audience that we have here, is in the direction that we're heading with AI, especially for newer engineers in the field. How do you feel like it's going to change the way they work now?
We are seeing day to day in all our companies that it is significantly easier to build. Um, it's just you can produce a lot more. You can produce a lot more code thanks to AI tools, and you can learn a lot faster, and you can deploy a lot faster. So, I think it's a significantly better time to be coding and to be an engineer than it was 5 years ago, and definitely, 20 years ago when I got started.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, just from your history, you've definitely seen AI in terms of its iteration in where we are right now. In comparison, like I know that you were talking about when you first was, developing, software in high school in the 90s, to where we are right now in 2025. How have you seen from like what you thought AI was going to be back in those days as you were, traversing through the industry in time versus where we are right now?
I no longer make predictions because I I have been surprised in a very positive way at the speed of development. When I first got somewhat interested in AI in high school, it was a very big deal that like Deep Blue won one game against Gary Kasparov. Like that was not in the cards in the 90s. That was not the prediction. And Big Blue was a blunt instrument. And, it for most experts back then, humans were always going to be better at chess than computers. And then that by the end of the 90s, that was over. Like we lost chess. And then I remember in the 2000s, kind of the next frontier was Go, the Chinese strategy game, which is infinitely more complex than chess. And I remember telling everyone, yeah, like Go will not be solved in our lifetime. And 2015, DeepMind, Lee Sedol, and obviously we all know what happened there. And then, all the way to attention and transformers. So it's been breathtaking. I think that's a very, very good thing. I think we're all benefiting from it. And I personally am in learning mode, and try not to have too many priors about what the next frontier is because I've been underestimating it all the way.
I just say I've been underestimating it all the way, and I can totally attest to that. Also, just from my perspective, is like the way we're iterating. I don't even think I could have imagined us getting to this point, and I'm just so excited for the next round of engineers that are coming out. And this actually leads into a question that we have here. So one thing that just definitely comes through is that AI is a great equalizer, but also a disruptor. What role do you think emerging engineers should play in shaping, the future of tech?
Um, Well, I think we'll be following the lead that emergence engineers put us into. I think I have never seen the speed of growth of net new companies that we're experiencing today. We have several companies in our portfolio that have gone from zero to many millions of revenue in months, which is crazy. And the founders of those companies, not all of them, but some of them, are going to become the next generation of CEOs of consequential companies. So to me, what that means is that for those emerging engineers, they are having to grow up faster, like significantly faster, and they are having to ask themselves questions such as, "Hey, what kind of company do I want to build? What is the big vision? Like, what do we want to stand for?" That generally, as a company builder, you have years, if not decades, to shape, and now it's happening in like a few months. So that's profound. That's profound. I don't have a playbook for how to handle it, but it's inspiring and a little bit scary to see.
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say it's inspiring, but also a little scary. And for me, what I always tell my mentees is like, just imagine what will be created based on where you all are starting right now. So I also feel extremely inspired. And also staying on the lane of advice for our attendees here at the Emerging Engineering Summit is, and we've know you've done a lot of hiring, invested in a lot of companies, and mentored hundreds of technologists. What separate those who succeed from those that just aren't able to keep up?
I think a million things, and we can never underestimate the importance of the luck factor, which is plenty, right? But I will go back to focus and determination. I just think the I admire everyone I meet here that is more focused than I am, and it's always something that I'm like, man, if I can only like streamline more, so I can like again, it takes very, very, very long time and a lot of effort to become really good at something. So I think that's if I have to pick one thing, it will be that.
Yeah, and definitely totally agree with focus. One other thing that I want to know is if you can give some advice on if there's any other like mistakes that early career engineers or founders have make that you wish they could, that you could coach them through it.
I think that you know looking inward and trying to be really honest about, hey, what drives us? Like, who am I? What am I looking for? What do I really want to do? What makes me happy? What gives me energy? And yes, trust yourself and listen to your inner voice. I think that is a lifelong pursuit, right? But at least I have found that the sooner people can get there, and it took me a long time, and I'm still working on it. The That gives you more clarity and confidence to decide what game exactly you want to play, and what game you want to win at. I think that's very, very important because otherwise you're kind of looking for outside answers, and that can be confusing and again lead to not being focused.
Yeah, yeah. And just to double tap on that question itself, and this is kind of, just transparency and definitely giving the audience an insights into your journey. What would you say is maybe not defined as a mistake, but maybe a misstep in your early start of either the venture or of companies or into creating VCs that you really, felt is noteworthy in your journey?
I regret every decision I make or every inaction that comes out of fear. And those are plenty. Like oftentimes I would like, take too long to stop working with someone that I know is not right, but looks good on paper. That's like a very common one. Or like not have the courage to be like, you know what? I'm hedging with these two things, but they're not the main thing. And actually, yes, I completely cut them off and like focus on the main thing because it's a fake hedge. I'm kind of self-fulfilling prophecy that the main thing is not going to work because I'm edging. Anything that feels like that, I should, instead take the mentality of like, okay, let's just assume the main thing is going to be wildly successful. Why will I do anything else? Why will I work with anyone that is not like equally focused and believing with me on this? I think listening to that, again, easier said than done, but it's generally a very, very good tell.
Yeah, for sure. Big shout outs to you. And obviously the way that it pans out is those journeys help you become a better leader in time, right?
Really.
One thing that I always get into conversations with mentees and new grads is making a decision if they should, pursue big tech in terms of a career path, join a startup, or maybe even fund something themselves and create their own company. What advice would you have for those that are attending considering those options?
Um, I think that if you are technical person, there has never been a better time in history to start your own company. And if not, join a very, very early startup. And again, we're in a time and companies are going from 0 to over 10 millions of revenue in 10 to 20 months. That's crazy. There is nothing like that. Like the choice between joining Nvidia or Goldman Sachs and like going to a startup that goes at that speed. And again, we're talking about 100 companies plus that will do that this year. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I think it's actually a big risk to like not do that right now in this moment in time. And the ecosystem is such that when 80% of those fail, which they will, doesn't matter because the 20% that work are like growing so fast that they will hire everyone else. And there are now like so many accelerators, incubators, early funds that is just for the value of the experience that is worth going like full throttle, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you so much for insights in terms of where we're at in this iteration of time when it might have been a different advice 3 or 4 or 5 years ago versus where we are right now. And definitely thank you for giving us your perspective behind a VC company that makes those type of investments. One thing
Thank
that I did want to double tap on, founding and something that I find a lot of mentees are really questioning, especially when they're thinking about founding, is it a requirement to have a solid idea before you go off and adventure into
No,
funding a company?
absolutely not. I think that, as someone said, like no plan survives contact with the enemy. Like you start building, you put it out there, and most likely, the main idea will remain the main idea weeks because the feedback will be like, okay, you know what? There was something there, but it's actually something completely different. So, and again, I think that comes with the being unafraid of failure
Mhm.
and being able to like keep that feedback loop very tight. And I think Jeff Bezos puts it best when he says you have to remain like a stubborn in your vision, but flexible on the details. I think that is particularly true at the beginning. You might be like, oh, I'm generally interested in something with like AI and genetics and healthcare, and then you think you are going to do like ancestry app, and you end up with like transplant compatibility for pet organ transplant. Like, I don't know, but I think you only get there by like being like, go and take the feedback.
Oh, that's powerful, and I think that example hits the nail right on the head because I feel like the hesitant for especially those that have that entrepreneurship and skills are like, hey, I have to have something before I go, versus realizing that it's gonna come as you go, right? Like get on the run, get into that marathon, run that race, and your path will open up. Actually, transitioning into more personal purpose and perspective. One thing that we obviously is well noted is your story spans from Nigeria, Spain to Silicon Valley and beyond. How can you identify how this has shaped your approach in leadership and innovation based on your journey?
I think that I have benefited from the luck of being exposed to extremely different environments and extremely different people, because it gives you different frameworks and different tools that you can apply to problem solving. So that is very good. And then in hindsight, I think that being a citizen of many places also means at some level that you're a citizen of none, and that, hey, I'm an outsider no matter what perspective, I think gives you a little bit of permission to have your own ideas because you're never going to like fully fit. And in hindsight, I think I have benefited from that.
100%. I think our journeys as I'm a first generation Haitian American. My parents are originally from Haiti, from Haiti. It just gives me a different perspective in life, and also the hunger drive, really pushed me because I knew what my parents, instilled in me in terms of them coming to this country. But also being a world traveler, you get to see the other parts of the world because it's not just here in the States. It definitely gives you some great perspective. And big shout outs to you on your journey. One thing that I definitely wanted to dive into is this topic that has been really difficult, unfortunately, and more specifically, diversity. And one thing that I want to highlight here is that, number one, you've had an extremely loud voice, and I want to encourage you to keep shouting. But what do you think is most urgent that we need to see in terms of change, and how can we be a part of this movement?
I think that we are going to see several billion-dollar and multi-billion-dollar companies that started by founders of very diverse backgrounds. And I think supporting that and encouraging that is the number one thing we could all be doing to show again by example of like, hey, look, it's possible and it's great. And I am very, very much doing what I can on my side to encourage that.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you so much for that insights because I do want to encourage innovation, especially during the time of AI. I mean, like you said, I'm projecting we're going to see the first $1 trillion individual before you even know it, hopefully within my lifetime, but definitely allowing us all to have the opportunity, especially utilizing AI in some capacity. One thing I do want to let the audience know is we're getting close to the end of these, questions that I have here on the cue card. But I do want to encourage you all to queue up your own questions that you have for Ade after this last question I have here. So for Ade, what is one value or philosophy that has reminded you constant across, that has remained with you constant across your chapter and your journey?
I try to put a lot of emphasis and remind myself that it's extremely important to be authentic and to be yourself. And I think it's very easy to get caught on, whatever the environment is pushing you towards, or, be transactional because we're all way too busy. But I think that leaving the space, kind of what I was echoing before, of like, hey, listening to that inner voice that is generally very wise, and projecting it goes a very, very long way.
Thank you so much for that philosophy. And let me tell you, I've been listening. So you've been dropping gems throughout our conversation so far. So definitely want to encourage everybody to rewind if you missed anything. But this is our opportunity where we're going to get some questions from the audience. And it looks like I have one here from Charles. Charles asks, what is the most underrated skill, tech or non-tech, for a software engineer to develop?
It's called, I guess, what is called UX, or human computer interaction. But where that was coming from me is that early interest in game design and game design architecture, and understanding the psychology of why we find games engaging, and different environments and different rewards and different reinforcement loops of why we want to keep going back to certain apps and tasks and doing certain things. And I think understanding that, and even the psychology and neurology behind that is extremely powerful.
Ah, man, I think you really are opening up this idea and concept that definitely allows engineers to think beyond just writing code in terms of how we can support our users and customers of different platforms by understanding how humans work, right? And I've always encouraged engineers to have two skills, especially if they are going into an industry which is overwhelmed with a lot of people coming in with just coding. But imagine if you have that type of background, the type of influence you can have. The next question that we have up is for those of us who are just starting our career, how can we think and act with an entrepreneur mindset, even if we're not funding a startup?
Join one. I think there has never been a better time to join a startup. Like, literally go to the Y Combinator website and like, go through the batch, and whichever are the 20 most interesting companies, write them. I mean, like, here are you hiring? The amount of people I'm seeing that are, and again, easier said than done, everyone in their circumstances, but when you are at the time where you can actually consider a full-time job, be like, hey, what if I literally go and write the 20 companies out of YC that I like the most? And it's like, will you give me a job? And I'm seeing a lot of people from like college, high school, really young, joining these companies and getting this training, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I even like the way that you describe it as training, right? Because first of all, the hustle's real. If you're not on the hustle and trying to get access, and if you're sitting back waiting, I don't know if that nowadays is going to come and find you. You're going to have to put yourself out there. And that idea of hitting up top companies on YC, and I'm about to go to base 10 to see who y'all invested in, right? And really just, put yourself out there in terms of where you want to develop and really get an opportunity to level up even massively, in my opinion, start from a startup. The
I
next,
think
go
this
ahead.
is right, but I don't want to share this. I I think it was the CEO of Cognition that mentioned in an interview the other day that he and Alex Wang, the founder and CEO of Scale, were both either in no, they were both engineers out of high school in the same week entering to work at ADEPAR, which was a financial software company, um, when they were both like, in their teens. And it's like, wow, like, what about that? So I think again, there has never been, I know for a fact that if I back in Spain had the accent for like, wait, I can just like apply to like a bunch of startups and like get trained in like AI and like yes, absolutely. So I think it's a no-brainer right now.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for those words of encouragement, and definitely for those that are a little hesitant to do those type of cold call, cold outreach. We want to encourage you to do more of it. The streets are oversaturated. All right, so we have our next question up here. The next question is says, what advice would you give for someone interested in working at a startup? So we're kind of, double tapping on what you were talking about.
Yeah, write your top 20, 30 most interesting startups. I mean, like, here is why I love what you are doing. And I would like you to give me an hour to show you what I can do for you.
Yeah, yeah. And
And,
and
and I
just
think you do that 30 times, and it's almost impossible that you don't come out of that exercise with transformative life opportunities and
100%,
connections.
100%. And just to dive a little bit more deeper, if someone is studying computer science, maybe programming language, they're primarily like Java or Python. What type of role would they fill for a startup? And more or less just trying to frame it so that they, in terms of the attendees, know what their pitch is in terms of what they bring to the table.
That very much depends on what each is interested on. But obviously, backend engineer, AI engineer, systems engineer are like the obvious ones, but there will be people that are more interested in the design part, that are more interested in the product side of things. I would just again be like, take the products that you are most interested in because you use them either for your coding or you use them for your day to day, or you're just like interested in what you're doing, and like call right people, the founders, the engineers, the recruiters, and be like, hey, I use your product. Here is why I like it. Here is what I'll do with it. Here are my skills. I want to talk. And I really think it's like impossible if you do that 20 or 30 times, and you are specific and authentic about, like, no, it's not everyone writing to OpenAI being like, I like what you're doing. It's like, yeah, sure. But, like, just be specific, and you'll be surprised. I think it's impossible not to come out of that exercise without life transforming opportunities.
100%. I even have stories I tell when I used to interview candidates, and if they come in and talk about a blog post that we posted on our site, oh my gosh, you already got a one up on everybody else, right? It's understanding the product, utilizing it. There's a saying that eat your own dog food type thing, but then utilizing that as an opportunity for you to engage with these companies is amazing, amazing, amazing. The next question that we have up here is, let's see. Question is, for attendees still early in their career, what do you recommend we specialize in? What part of the software engineering is most open to growth? I kind of know what you're probably leaning to, but what would be your opinion?
Yeah, I don't actually have any prescriptive answer to that, because I think, again, we are all like very different, and like, is better, like, if you are really interested in design, like, even if visual design is what I mean. Even if it seems that being an AI engineer is more lucrative today, you might end up being way better just like focusing on design. That knows something about AI engineering. So I'll be like, what do you see yourself doing that even if you weren't paid, you will be doing? And like generally follow that.
Yeah, I think what I hear is coming through is passion. Is something that is very noteworthy, especially when you're engaging with companies and looking for opportunities. That passion comes through, and if you double down on that passion, opportunities potentially will open up. Would you concur?
100%.
Roger that. Roger that. Next question I have is almost in the same lane, a little bit more into, and let me just say that the audience here is really just trying to dive into like checking a box in terms of what are the skills from your tech journey that has been that has translated into your career into startups.
Um, and trying not to, I don't think I can say anything new. Again, I would say that being extremely focused, which I'm still working on everything, but being extremely focused, being unafraid of getting a lot of feedback, and in particular, a lot of negative feedback, and reacting quickly to that, are generally applicable to anything and everything.
Roger that, and thank you so much for doubling down on that. I think the audience is very much aligned. The next question I have coming up here is more or less diving into startups. It's audience member asks, being a founder includes being extremely efficient. How do you make sure you manage your time well enough and to give you all the tasks that's necessary to attain them as you need it, and at the same time ensuring that you are not burnt out? So it's more or less, well, what advice would you have around that?
Yeah, I think it's very hard, and I think that we are all, particularly in this day and age, constantly behind. I was joking with someone yesterday that asked me, "How's your week?" And I was like, "I'm already behind, and I'm getting to the realization that I'm going to be behind on my email for the rest of my professional career." I think that's kind of true. Um, but um, and I think that constantly looking at the calendar and being like, "Wait, what is the most important thing I'm trying to accomplish? Let's go through the calendar again. What are all the things that are not directly related to this being the most important thing? Okay, out." Trying to do that often. And then again, because it does take a very, very long time, you have to give yourself, rope for that very, very long time. So, I'm 43. When I was 22, all-nighters, not a problem. Like, and I will work like infinite hours a week and then like go and see my friends and like play soccer and like whatever. That's no longer possible for me, one all-nighter, and I'm paying for that all week. So I try not to do that. And for me, like exercise and family are like must-haves. So I carve time for that constantly because that's what allows me to like work a lot and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. 80s babies out here. We can't do all nighters like we used to, but definitely appreciate the insights of your journey. Question I have here from Anthony is how do you get, or I'm sorry, how do you blend tech and leadership into creating equal opportunities for all?
Um, I don't think I have a very good answer other than I just try to, be myself and ask myself for everything that I'm doing, hey, does this feel right? And that is generally a good compass.
Really intrigued to hear your perspective is obviously we talked a little bit about diversity and challenges the industry is shifting to. How have you seen that affect companies and VCs that are pitching to your firm?
Um, we maybe by the nature of who we are and what I do, we really attract founders from like very, very, very diverse backgrounds. We invest internationally quite a bit. We invest outside Silicon Valley quite a bit. Our portfolio is like full of people from all over the world and from all backgrounds, and tons of immigrants from like very different ethnicities. So I- we just personally believe that opportunity is everywhere, and looking for it everywhere will lead to better returns. So independently of what everyone else does is what we are going to keep doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I very much appreciated the services and opportunities and doors that you all are opening up for those that don't get a chance to pitch at other places. So another question I have, and I'm actually really excited about this, is across everything you've built, what would you say is your most proudest product, venture, creation, and things that you've done?
Base 10, but base 10 years from now.
Ooh. Where do you see base 10 years from now?
Um, Not as good as base 10 20 years from now. I just try to have the mindset of like, hey, I genuinely believe we have a chance to build the best technology investing firm in the world and the one that is best as helping transform the real economy to be better and most productive. And I think that's the coolest opportunity ever. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I don't know exactly what that looks like, and I think that you have to be stubborn in your vision but flexible in the details. But yes, having the that 10-year mindset of like, okay, I know today we are like quite good at like understanding the logistics industry and how that is shaping. We have two IPOs of logistic companies this year, which is amazing. We're very proud of. But it's like, whoa, but there's so much opportunity here. How good can we be at this 10 years from now? It's going to be amazing. We're going to like understand everything. So that's it's kind of the mindset.
For sure. And I'm following along, and I encourage everyone watching, listening, and follow base 10 because 10 years from now, we already there.
You too.
So last question I have from the audience is do you think you need to have an entrepreneur mindset to work at a startup? And if so, what is your advice in developing that mindset?
I guess I'm the personally of the belief that you are what you repeatedly do. That's an Aristotle quote that we say a lot at base 10. And like I don't know, I'm like personally I'm not naturally gifted at many things. And I very early on decided that I was going to have to be very comfortable doing things repeatedly that I was not naturally gifted in, and looking very stupid at the beginning if I wanted to like get a chance to do anything. So it's an entrepreneur mindset. It's like, I think if you just like decide, you know what, I want to try a new startup, then by week two, you already have an entrepreneur mindset. You, it's a little bit what I mean. It's like you kind of just start doing it. And once you get up that initial, uphill, which always is little by little, you get comfortable with it.
Yeah, yeah, and don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid to, inquire. Don't be afraid to talk about your journey and develop. Because I heard Ade give some gems like, hey, you might think this is the track you're on, but you just need to start running, and another path will open up. So definitely, very much encouraging. Next question I have. I thought it was getting close, but we got a few more lined up. But the one that I have here is, what makes people stand out to you, and basically during a pitch of a product or a business?
Clarity, clarity of vision, clarity of how to get there, um, confidence, authenticity, passion.
Mm. Man, I hope y'all wrote those down, because I heard passion like 10 times a day. And I know that that's very clear, right? Clarity, obviously, being able to articulate the idea and vision, right? Being able to see base 10 years from now, right? These are definitely things that I appreciate you, Adi, reminding us and give us some insights into it. And another thing is, how have you been able to build a positive mindset, and how do you handle rejection and failure? Because we've been talking about failure.
Yeah, but by having a lot of it, it's like by having a lot of it, I mean, like, okay, well, so I guess I have two options. I let it break me or I keep going. I choose to keep going. And again, luck plays a huge part. And I have the blessing of being surrounded by a community and finally and family and friends that have been beyond encouraging. But I've definitely had um, since I started and in my childhood and very recently extremely tough moments. And I do think it's something that, like everything else in life, you practice and
Yeah.
you get better at and you go through.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And one thing I wanted to dive a little bit more deeper into is how important is it, building a team, right? As a founder, you might be the tip of the sword, but there's obviously those that support you. So how important is it in building a team?
I think it's very important. Yeah, it's definitely more fun than to be solo. At least for me, there are some people that prefer to do everything solo. And hey, the it's way easier with AI tools, so you need to hire less people.
Yeah. And we're still on the startup conversation here. Is what metric or signal do you prioritize when deciding if a startup can deliver real economy impact at scale?
At scale, we anchor a lot in customer feedback, and in particular, how, whatever signals the customers are giving us of, hey, this is solving a real problem for me, and hence I am willing to invest a lot more on it.
Yeah. And would you say that's that product fit or product fit kind of phase that you all are evaluating for either a product or what's being developed?
I think that um, I think that product market fit will be when you already have a few customers and they're growing and they're happy. And I think at a scale is when you can articulate a pretty clear plan backed by customer data on, we are actually ready to take a meaningful chunk of our industry.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Still on startup. I got another question here: is what draws the line between great startups and a great product, and how would you bring a great product to become a great startup?
I think if the great product is used by a lot of happy customers that are willing to part with big contracts to keep using the product, that is a good sign.
Yeah, for sure. If people are willing to go in their pocketbooks and their purse to actually, pay for something, it is definitely a value around that for sure. And one thing I actually want to throw out there is I noticed in terms of your portfolio that there was some companies that you invested in early startup. We believe it was Instacart, Nubank, and Carfi, I believe it is. Which of those three have really like terms of when you first saw them really developed into the company that you envision versus there was some type of pivot on the journey?
Well, one thing I would say is that I think a special thing about Nubank is that it is the best digital bank in the world. And it wasn't started in the US, obviously, it was started in Brazil. And it is just the best company, defining company of its category worldwide, period. And, I think for anyone that had met David before he started Nubank and meets David today, there is a very clear line of like, hey, this guy can clearly articulate why he needs to do what he's about to do. And it's a very clear plan that then will change a bunch of times to like how to get there. So I think that is a clear example of what a 0.001% founder looks like.
Yeah, for sure, because it's rough in these streets. All right, so I think we're at our last question here, and this is to wrap us up. What would be your top piece of advice you would share with our emerging engineers, and then that would help us wrap up. So, what top advice would you have that you would like to share with the emerging engineers in the audience?
I think touching on a couple of the things that I mentioned that are, hey, one, listen, like tune out the noise, listen to yourself, and whatever that voice tells you that you really want to do and you know that's possible, focus on that and just like cut everything else out.
Focus. First of all, I want to say, Adi, thank you so much for pulling up, giving us some insights of your journey. It's very noteworthy. I'm going to be following along. I want to encourage everyone to follow along. And maybe even a question, what would be the best platform or where is the best spot for us to follow along?
Um, I am someone that started a social media company and then is not in social media at all. So the only place where I put stuff is on LinkedIn. I'm not that active. But in Based my team, which is wonderful, we do have a presence elsewhere.
Sure. For sure. Again, a big round of applause and thank you so much for hanging out with us as our inaugural kickoff of our keynote for here at the Emerging Engineers 2025. Thank you so much. I got a few things that I'm going to share real quick with you all. And first of all, I want to say thank you again to Adi for sharing his story, his wisdom, and his perspective with all of us this morning. What's a powerful way to kick off the day for the Emerging Engineering Summit? As we move forward, I want to remind you of the part of our program featuring breakout sessions hosted by Pluralsight and PwC. Be sure to check out the event schedule to find the sessions and plan out your next experience you want to be a part of. We also want your feedback, not just for feedback for all these conversations, which I thought was lit. Let them know how well I'm doing as a host, but definitely all the sessions and opportunities that you all have throughout the next 3 days. Please take a moment to fill out the survey after the wrap up today of events, and it really does make a difference. And of course, don't forget to explore the lounge and companies' booths throughout the day. This is your chance to connect, ask questions, and start building those relationships that can last even beyond this week. This is from me. This is it for me now. And I can't wait to see you all in breakout sessions. And again, thank you, Ade, for his inspiring keynote. And thank you all for being a part of the journey here. Holla at your boy is Bobby